All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a special treat for you. I'm happy to say I am joined here by Danny from Novarama. He is the founder of Novarama, the game director for Kill Squad. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, come on. My pleasure. I mean, I've been following your channel for quite a while now. And, I'm really excited to engage in any way with the community and the content creators. So, let's see what the conversation is about.
Yeah, sure. So the conversation is mostly about Kill Squad, which launches tomorrow. It's the 20th as we're recording. Launch date is 21st of October. And how are you feeling? How are you holding up?
Whenever you launch a game, you're always super, super nervous. Because if you think about it, there's kind of like a disconnect. There's a disconnect because in your mind, of course, it's your baby and the game is perfect and it's amazing and it will set the world on fire. But then there's a moment in which you free your baby in the real world, which is, the community and the fans. And that's when you realize, how good a job you did. With Kill Squad, it's a little bit less stressing because the game has been in early access. So we already know a little bit of what the sensation from the community is like. But, I've been in this industry for, I think, almost 20 years now. And I still get kind of like goosebumps every time we release a game. It's a complicated process for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because it's also something you work on for so long, right? Compared to, I think, many other products out there.
But that's the nature of the industry these days. I mean, games have become more like a living thing where you release the game and then you update the game and then you do early access and DLC and so forth and so on. So it's more like a living creature. So for us, to release Kill Squad is actually the result of about 4 years of work, if you think about it. 2 years of full development and then 2 years in early access.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting weekend. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it as well. I wanted to start a little bit with also the start of the company. I read it was founded in 2003 in Catalonia. You got some government funding and you started out in a classroom in a university.
Yeah, that is all true. Actually, so the story goes like this. I'm actually a computer science guy. That's what I studied when I was a kid. I'm 47 now. And so basically, since I entered university, my business has been to actually put together companies. So, I did 2 companies, which were internet companies, kind of like in the 90s and stuff like that. And then from the bonus I got from my last company, actually, I wanted to have a game studio. So me and a bunch of other crazy people who are all still in the company. So I think that's a testament to our success. We said, hey, let's do a game studio, and that became Novarama. Then with Novarama, the history, kind of like in a nutshell, goes that we began doing PC games back in the day. Why? Because it was cheap. It was either PC or console, and console was like, oh, this is too expensive, so let's do PC. So we started with PC, and then we moved on to console, trying to get basically more funding. And that is when we got in the orbit of Sony. So, we did this game for Sony called Invisimals, which was a kiddie game. It's kind of like a Pokemon with augmented reality. And then this became like a big thing. Invisimals sold millions. Yeah. And then we signed an exclusivity agreement with Sony. And so we became part of the Sony roster of studios for about 9 years or something like this, until 2016 or 17. With Sony, I think the biggest contribution to our company is that we learn how to do game. If you think about it, doing a game is not easy. Doing a quality game, is not easy. So because we did 7 games of Invisimals with Sony, we learned all the nooks and crannies about how to deliver a good product, about the gameplay and about the scope and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Invisimals was basically done on handhelds, like the PSP and the PS Vita and all those platforms. And then when cell phones became kind of like the big thing, of course, Sony kind of like changed their focus. And so we parted ways with Sony. And then since then, honestly, we combine projects we do for other people. So, for example, while we were doing Kill Squad, we were doing a game for Warner Brothers, which became actually Samurai Jack, from the Samurai Jack TV show. So, as a company, we always have external clients, but our dream was always to be able to generate our own revenue, to not depend on anyone. Because if you think about it, if you depend on someone else, of course, that's a risk. But because what happens if you don't find a client? What happens if you don't find a project? Basically, you're screwed. So that idea actually became the seed of Kill Squad, basically. We said, okay, let's do something close to home, something we know how to do. We were all fans of, anything from Heroes of the Storm to Diablo to Left 4 Dead to Destiny. And we said, hey, let's put all that in kind of like a cocktail jar and, shake and let's see what we come up with. And that became basically Kill Squad. So that's the story of the company in a nutshell. For us, Kill Squad has been a very big learning experience. We've learned a lot. I mean, Kill Squad is over 110,000 units sold so far, only on early access. Very happy about that. Of course, we hope this to grow significantly once we do a full release. We've learned a lot about how to liaise with the community. People like you, people on Discord, people on Steam. Honestly, we knew nothing about this. We were really kids in that space. So we've learned a lot about that. We've learned a lot about self-publishing, which is kind of like a science on its own.
Yeah.
And in the future, of course, we would love to first release Kill Squad, then support it. I mean, we're going to announce actually today. So yesterday, for you guys seeing the video today, we're going to announce our roadmap for all the new things that we're going to bring into the game, because our commitment does not end with launch. And of course, just see the company growing. I mean, if you think about it, because of coronavirus, it's funny because the world has been suffering a lot. But, I have to say, and I'm sorry to say this, but we as game developers, we have been in a quite good space. Our company has doubled in size, thanks to Kill Squad and some other projects we have going on for the last year. So Novorama is now more than 60 people. I know it sounds crazy, but, we're becoming larger. So, we couldn't be happier. And now the time has come really to, again, to kiss our baby goodbye and tell Kill Squad, okay, go there, conquer the world. And let's see how the weekend goes in terms of sales and in terms of reviews and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about that, right? I was reading a bit on the history, and I saw this Invisimals game, and I thought, oh, let me try it out, right? Can I get it somewhere? And then I figured out, oh, you need a PS Vita for this. I don't have one, so I couldn't check it out. But this game became actually huge. Like when you started, I'm not sure if did you come up with it yourself, or did Sony ask you like?
Yeah, no. So the story of Invisible is kind of like a funny one. Basically, we were doing prototypes of different things, and we had seen videos of NASA, the national, the space guys.
Yeah, the space guys. Yeah.
And they had some demos of augmented reality, and we were like, hey, this is kind of cool. And so someone at our studio, actually my tech director, he did a quick demo in which you could see a 3D cube floating on a sheet of paper. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. And then we came up with this idea of, hey, there's monsters around the house and you need to go capture them.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very kid oriented. So our audience was maybe something like between 7 and 10 or 11.
Yeah.
But the game became huge. I mean, think about this. Invisible sold more than 3 million units. It like trading cards. It even became a TV show on Netflix. Yeah. It became a really big thing. But again, looking at that, kind of like in hindsight, like from now that I'm older, for us, again, I always take projects as a way to learn. I didn't have a clue of how to do a professional game before Invisibles. And then with Invisibles, we really kind of like oiled our machinery of how to make a game, And that has shown, for example, in Kill Squad, the way we've done the enemies and the way we've done the levels and the way we've done all of that has been very, very influenced by Invisibles. Of course, it's a whole different game. But, the difference is that when you're doing a game for a publisher, you need to do the game the publisher wants. In the case of Invisibles, it was a Sony game. But in the case of Kill Squad, it's more like, okay, let's do the game we want to play. Let's do something more kind of close to our likes and our hobbies, basically.
Right. So I was wondering, while you were done with Invisibles at some point, and you came up with this idea of Kill Squad, like you said, like a mix between Left 4 Dead and Diablo and MOBAs. And I was wondering, did you after you were done with Invisibles, I'm sure that you were also thinking like, okay, we actually have some decent knowledge on how to make a game now, like you just said. I'm sure that came in handy. You already mentioned a few examples, right? With the monster design, that kind of thing, which I'm sure you did with Invisibles as well, right? Yeah. There's monsters to capture there too. Is there also something that you thought you knew, but then you started Kill Squad, and then you thought, okay, we don't actually know anything about this at all?
Of course. Again, as I said before, anything involving direct publishing, honestly, we knew nothing about. I mean, we were so naive when we released Kill Squad. We thought, oh yeah, we put this and it just works, And then we discovered, honestly, I mean, when we released Kill Squad, we were not even aware of what Discord was.
Right.
And we were like, oh, okay, there's this thing called Discord. Oh, okay, great. And there's this thing called social media. There's content creators and so forth and so on. So that's one thing. Related to this, we learned something the hard way, which is how complicated is it to do a live game with a community. Let me put it this way. When you do a game for a console, you basically are like in a cave, and you work on the game, you ship the game, and you go on holidays, and off you go, But with Kill Squad, basically, you release the thing, and basically every day and every week, we were getting feedback from you guys, on Discord or Steam or something like this. But of course, that feedback is actually very, very good, And many times the problem is that some of that feedback makes you change your mind. You think, oh, you know what? I thought the game was this way, but actually, no, the game is more like this other way. And sometimes it's easy because it's an obvious change, but sometimes it's not that easy because you need to communicate to the fans. Hey, you know what? We have discovered that this is better if we do it this way. So, for example, in the case of Kill Squad started again like a mesh of what I said before: Diablo, Heroes of the Storm, Destiny, Left 4 Dead, and those are 4 games which are super, super different. And we could have gone in many different directions. But talking with the community, for example, at some point we thought, hey, maybe we want to do more collectible characters because that's what people want, more like Heroes of the Storm. And then we discovered, no, we don't want to do that. We want to go more, less characters but deeper, more like a gauntlet, or more like if you wish, more like a Diablo that you can, do builds and configuration of characters and stuff like that. So again, it's been learning. It's been something totally new for us. But at the same time, for me, it makes me feel super excited and super young, because if you think about it, if you've done a saga or a franchise for 7 games, honestly, at some point you're just doing them with your eyes closed and you're going like, yeah, sure. And then Kill Squad came about and it was like, oh, okay, we are virgin again, we're stupid again. And that, that is great, Of course, it has a downside that you need to pick up all the learnings. If you think about it, for example, if you look at our review score, that shows really what happened, which is for a long time, we really didn't understand what was going on. If you look at the score of Kill Squad, it was like, like slow for a number of months. And that is when we were trying to understand how to do a game for a live audience. But if you look at since October last year to now, which is again a year basically, reviews go higher. That is when we go like, okay, now we got this. Now we know what they want. Let's deliver. So for example, I'm super happy. One of the things about Novorama is that we really can be funded through different projects because we have our own thing, which is Kill Squad, and we have other games. And one of the things we said, and we were very kind of like stubborn with the community, is we will not release this thing until we're happy. Yeah. But you see, for example, 4 days ago, we crossed the 70 score on average reviews. We've been on over 90 recent reviews for like 9 months now. And we were like, see, now we're ready. Now we release. So it's been a really, really interesting project. I mean, I think compared with Invisibles 1, which is the first one we did for Sony, I think this is the game I've learned more in my career from. It's been super, super interesting.
Yeah. I can imagine that, because also I think with Invisibles, for example, you don't really have that interaction with the audience. I suppose maybe if you show,
not at all.
Not at all. Were there also not even like shows or something? Because I saw entire movies of kids going completely crazy at like these shows. Were you ever there?
Yeah, but it's different. It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
If you think about it, an 8-year-old. The capacity of analysis that they have is very different from the one you have, for example, or from a lot of people from our community. I mean, when someone from our community sends a message, that is like a PhD thesis sometimes. Like, the balancing of this mission is wrong because the equation you're using is wrong for this reason. You should do it this way, and you should look at this game, this other game, and this other game. And you go like, holy.
Yeah.
It's really. It's a challenge for us in an intellectual level to talk with some members of our community because they're really good. They're bloody awesome, But if you think about it, when we're doing a game for kids, most of them are going to request the same, which is more monsters, more levels, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're easier to please.
Yeah, but with Kill Squad, no. I mean, the game has changed a lot just with feedback from the community.
Yeah. No, I noticed. I bought the game when it was released, and what was it, like April 2000? July 19?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and in some ways the game changed a lot with all the updates you put out. I think you put out 15 major updates, right?
Yeah,
and,
something like that,
every time it just came back, and then I was like, oh yeah, okay, the mission structure actually makes sense now, right? Before I was like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, there's missions all over the place. And I because what I found very good from the start, pretty much, was the actual gameplay. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little rough around the edges, sure, but you could definitely see like the combat is good, sound design I thought was pretty good. I like the music. So playing the game and in co-op, it got pretty intense, pretty fast.
Yeah.
I
Let me
thought,
tell you. So internally in the Rama, it's a funny one because I think we got the action of the game right away.
yeah,
Right away. The
yeah,
sense of action we got it. We went to some trade shows, we went to E3, we went to PAX, and everybody said, "Hey, for half an hour, this game is a lot of fun." But then the problem with Kill Squad, and that was again 2019. It reminds me again. I'm older. I'm an old guy, so it reminded me of an arcade machine. If you know an arcade machine like from the 80s, they're super fun for half an hour,
yeah,
but there's not that much more to it because actually the game is actually quite shallow. If you think about Pac-Man, perfect example, super, super fun game, but it's short. So the challenge for us was, okay, if this is the game we're doing, and in half an hour people are saying this is a hell of a lot of fun, what is the proper tail so that this becomes 50, 60, 70 hours? And that is something we were struggling with, because it could have been, for example, again, collectible characters. That could have been a way. Another one would be character progression. Another one would be missions and quests. So there's a number of ways, and that's actually something that's very funny with the community, which is sometimes, of course, again, we have 90% review score now, so I'm super happy with that. But sometimes people don't get it, and they go like, "Oh, I hate the direction you've chosen," and it's perfectly valid for a reason, which is there's different games out there that you could do from the same basis. If you think about a tree, it can have different branches, and none of them are wrong. It's just that you choose one direction over another. And then when you're a developer, of course, you need to leverage. Basically, the first thing for us was always, what can we do really well? Really well. For example, we're not Blizzard. We don't have the resources of Blizzard. Diablo 3 maybe costs, I don't know, maybe 20 times as much, more than Kill Squad. So it's stupid for us to daydream, oh yeah, let's do this, heat state. We're not grinding gear, for example, the guys from Path of Exile. It's a different game. So first thing we said is, okay, we have this. What is the good game that lives close to this game that we have today? So how can we change this game so that it becomes great? And then that is when we began making changes to the progression structures, and we began making changes to the levels, and so forth and so on. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is, of course, we didn't want to betray the trust put on us by the people who have been backing us, because I've explained this a million times. For me, early access is kind of like Kickstarter, but just better. There's people like you. You say, hey, I like those guys. I like what they're doing. I'm going to give them my money. So what I cannot do is say, okay, now I will do a car racing game, because then you would come to me and say, hey, son of a bitch, what did you do with my money? So we didn't want to betray the community. But at the same time, again, we were seeking, okay, what is the great game that lives close to the game we have now? Honestly, I'm very, very satisfied with what we achieved. The proof is in, reviews and, comments from people and stuff like that. And the only thing now is just how do we make it better? And that's the reason why, for example, again, yesterday, which is today, we announced our roadmap, and we're going to be adding a lot of stuff, which we can talk about. Because again, for me now, it's a little bit more downhill. The structural changes we wanted to make are done already, and now it's just a matter of, if we have a cake, let's put some strawberries on it, and let's put chocolate on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you're gonna. I told or I saw the last gathering of the bounty hunters as well, and there you talk a bit about what's already coming up, right? So there's gonna be things like the not infinite, but a different sort of AI-driven arena, which adapts to your own skill.
It's very straightforward. What we can do is we want to give Kill Squad a proper endgame. So for those people who really want an end game, which is kind of like more competitive, more challenging, we're going to give them under different forms. There's going to be legendary weapons. There's going to be an inferno mode, which is going to be super tough. At the same time, to me, the idea is not to take a spaghetti and make it longer.
Right.
To me, the idea is to maybe try different types of sauces. So one thing we're tinkering with, but again, we'll give more information about this soon, is that we've seen that our community is very competitive, and very much into showing off. Basically, a lot of people are like on Steam, like, I'm better than you, and I'm better than you, and I have this equipment, and I have that other equipment. So we're trying to sprinkle some competitive spice into the game so that people can somehow face each other and challenge each other and say, oh, you know what, this week I was the best player. This week you were the best.
I
So
see.
that is something we're thinking about. It's not that common in a game of this type, in a game of an action RPG structure. But that's something. For example, again, whole different game. But that's something you see on Destiny. They have this mode in which you can pit each other. We're not thinking about that. But again, we're thinking of a good way to allow people to somehow compete and show off, and that's something we're going to announce soon.
Right. Did you?
Because again,
Yeah.
to me, the idea is not to make the same game longer, but to actually make it more fun as well.
Yeah. No, I think the game is very fun. Like I've been playing Icar lately, and quite a bit. And I think very different from the other characters out there, right? I mean, you got the ninja and the tank and the range guy.
That's one of the big changes with KILLSQUAD. We thought we would do a lot of characters, and then we realized every character is a ton of work.
Yeah.
And then we decided to go. Our reference here was Left 4 Dead. If you remember Left 4 Dead, it had 5 characters, and that was fine. So that's the reason why we said, okay, we need Icar to complete the roster, and that will be it for now. But yeah, I'm happy that you're enjoying it. I mean, that was a lot of work in the making.
Yeah, I think it's very fun actually. It's and just the co-op part in general is very well done. Did you expect that the game would be competitive? Because it's mainly, I think, designed from a co-op perspective. At some point, it's going to be even pretty difficult to progress solo. I did some solo Troy play for like Factor 80, 90. Now, I'm a pretty casual player. Right? I'm not a good gamer.
That's
but after that, I got like, wow, this is getting really difficult, right? I'm getting my ass kicked here in these missions. So I need some help. And
you need to understand that since 10 years ago, things like Dark Souls have happened, and there has been this emergence of a scene of people who really want a challenge, like a tough challenge.
I get it. Yeah,
Bloodborne and so forth, and Sekiro and all these kind of games. So with KILLSQUAD, one thing we did is that intentionally we made it easier on the first section of the game, and then we make it harder on the second section of the game, because we realize we have two communities. We have a more, let's say, casual community that they're going to be in Recruit. They want to go fight the boss, and they go like, "Oh, I beat Haldoran. Yeah, sure, I'm amazing." But that is actually a piece of cake, really. And then once you enter veteran, then things change. I mean, we shift gears, and then we begin really basically tinkering with your brain and telling you, hey, this is going to be tough as shit, because we want it to be tough as shit, So again, there's kind of like this dual nature to our community, What we're going to be doing is going to be specifically tailored to this kind of like community that loves really the challenge. So most of what you're going to see from now to Christmas is going to be tougher, really. The only thing is that we may retrofit some of those features so that people in the early stages of the game can enjoy them as well. So it wouldn't be a surprise if you found some sort of competitive mechanic in Recruit as well, so our casual players can enjoy that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people from Novarama are, Dark Souls fans and this kind of game fans, and so the balancing of KILLSQUAD, that has been always a subject of discussion. And again, the solution we found is, as long as the first section of the game is accessible, we're happy with the second section of the game being really, really, because we think this way we can please both communities equally.
Yeah, and I think it's fair too. I mean, it wasn't like a sudden spike. I think it went slowly, gradually more difficult, right? From, let's say, Factor 50 to level to Factor 90. And then at Factor 90, I found it at least, but once again, I am not a fan of Dark Souls necessarily, right? I'm not playing Maple Story either, but I'm a little in between, right? But I do like, for example, Path of Exile. We'll get to that in a little bit, maybe. You already mentioned GGG. But I think the progression is gradual, so the difficulty is not super spiky. And what I also enjoy about the game is that you put in some random elements like 5 levels or 5 waves, let's say, of the Colosseum in the middle of a level. First time I saw it, I was like, hey, there's a portal here. I was with 3 random people. Let's go in the portal. Like, hey, we're in the Colosseum. Okay, what's this? Because I didn't play the Colosseum yet. And then you're getting attacks from all sides. Like, okay, I really enjoy the stuff that they put in the game, right? That's good. That's good. Are you worried at all about that other company that's releasing the next leak tomorrow as well, or in 2 days?
No, honestly, one thing you realize when you're in the industry is that you cannot always be looking to the sides, if you know what I mean. If you're looking to the sides, you're not doing your job. For example, when I was doing Invisibles, everybody was asking me, "Oh, are you playing Pokemon?" to get ideas, and I was like, "No, you know what? I've never played Pokemon." You know, I at first the first game I played was Pokemon Go, which came way later. You know, with Kill Squad, honestly, yeah, you look at other games just to basically get a grasp of what the industry is doing, but not in a competitive way, because the fact that someone buys your game does not mean that they're not going to buy this other game. You know, there's amazing games out there. I mean, I was playing, for example, The Ascent, which came out like a month or a couple of months ago.
Great game.
Because a friend of mine worked on that one, and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. You know, similar game, kind of like different in a million ways. I think the industry is so broad and so rich that if you're always looking at the other people, you will never do any work. You know, because now it's the Last Epoch, or now is New World, and now is whatever. You know, there's just so many games, which is actually a problem in a way, because people have so much to choose from. But that is the industry we live in. You know, and so the only thing you can do is just focus on your game and try to make it as good as possible. You know.
When you released it back in early access, like July 2019, looking back at that timing of releasing, did you think it was too soon, or would you still do it the same way?
That's a very good question. Okay, I need to give you two answers to that question. Okay, if you ask me, and I'm going to be very precise with my language. Okay, if you ask me then, if I then thought we were ready, yeah, my answer would be yes. I thought we were ready. But again, I had never done an early access before. You know, that's again, as I said, this has been a learning process. So if you ask me now, with what I have learned today, if it was too soon, my answer would be yes, it was too soon. You know, so in a way, I think coming from a classic business model, which is again our Sony days, in which we shipped a game and forgot about it and stuff like that. You know, I think that our brain logic was not correct in some ways, and most likely, the next game we do, whatever it is in the future, it will change the way we operate because of that. I think we thought we were ready. I think we know for sure now that we were not. We're ready now. For example, the game has been in QA for 4 months now, and it's been with stable reviews for 9 months now. So now it's ready. Was it ready then? No. But again, I think that's part of the beauty of early access, if you think about it, which is all this pain and suffering of these 2 years to get the game to its final state was needed so that we had a game with 90% reviews and 70 overall review score. I always do this kind of parallel because this is a game I really like, and I know one of the owners of the company. If you look at No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky, when it released, No Man's Sky has always been on my mind with Kill Squad, because it's kind of like a similar story. You release something, you think it's great. Of course, it's not. It's too early for it. But then there's a word that it really, really is very important to me, which is commitment. Commitment. Right. If we said, you gave us your money. If you think about it, to me that's kind of like sacred. We said we will fix this thing. I don't give a fuck. We will do it. No matter how long it takes, I don't care. When we released in early access, we thought, oh yeah, we will be in early access, I don't know, 4 months or 5 months, and here we are, 2 years later. Yeah. So that shows you how much we've changed and how much we've learned. Luckily, I think this is a good story with a good ending, which is in the end, we released a good game. We did our job. Hey, super happy about it. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, really.
Yeah, for sure. Is it when you? I saw an interview back with you at E3 at 2019. Yeah. And you said basically the same thing, like, hey, we have a mix of Diablo, of Left 4 Dead, of MOBAs. I don't think you mentioned Destiny, but you're mentioning it now. And
okay, yeah. Well, let me tell you, it was in our brain. Maybe I forgot it. But there's always been 4 games: Heroes of the Storm, because of the session structure; Destiny, because of the progression structure of the characters; Diablo, because it's a classic. It's a game that everybody has copied sometimes; and the 4th one being Left 4 Dead, in terms of procedural levels, in terms of random spawns of enemies, that kind of.
Right. And so how has that vision changed over the years, or has it just been adjusted by feedback of the community, or did you also have like a fundamental change in the actual vision now that you have almost released the product?
Okay, that is a very good question, actually, that you're pointing there. There's a point in which the game becomes being yours and it's owned by the community, and that happened to us. That happened to us mid last year. That's the moment in which you begin thinking, you know what, my opinion doesn't matter of nothing. The only thing that matters is keeping these guys happy, because we have 100,000 people who say the game should be this way. So for example, the Destiny component was diminished, and that's the reason why maybe you haven't heard so much about it. But we liked back in the day the Destiny progression structure, the light system of Destiny. We thought that was a good idea. It didn't work for us, so that was something we dropped. The vector and all that kind of stuff that was changed for that reason. Then we understood that sometimes it's better to be smaller but be better. And then a game began being mentioned in our meetings, which was Gauntlet, the classic Gauntlet from the 80s or 90s on arcade machines. So Gauntlet kind of like entered our kind of like ecosystem of discussions more and more and more. Diablo has always been there, but of course Diablo is kind of like a dream. You will never beat Diablo except if you're Blizzard and you have their funding and their experience. But yeah, I would say Destiny became less of a reference for us. Gauntlet became more of a reference for us. And Left 4 Dead, if you look at KILLSQUAD, it's basically Left 4 Dead with a different camera. it's really that, which, there's nothing wrong with that because Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite games ever. I think it's an amazing piece of work. Because of the crunch of the ending of KILLSQUAD, I haven't been able to play the last one, For Blood, I think it's called. I want to check it out. But I think it's an amazing game. And that always was kind of like a guiding light for me of, what would Left 4 Dead do in this kind of situation?
Yeah. You already mentioned this in this interview as well. And I noticed in one of the gathering of the bounty hunters, you were wearing a NASA shirt instead of the KILLSQUAD one. And so, and you already mentioned NASA. So is NASA also, or like space travel, or let's say, astrophysics? Okay. Is that an inspiration as well?
Disclosure. Of course, every creator creates something that's very close to their hearts. So you cannot see it from here, but over there's like a Apollo 11 kit, kind of like in the shelf over there. Yeah, so I've always been a sci-fi and a space freak. I've been to Kennedy Space Center a million times. I want to go there, see a launch and stuff like that. But honestly, it's fun to say this, but I'm not the creator of KILLSQUAD. I mean, KILLSQUAD, if you think about who created this game, it was actually a team, kind of like in a macro vision. It's a team of 4 or 5 people within our company, So KILLSQUAD actually was not originally my idea. It was an idea of 2 guys, the lead designer and 1 programmer from the company. Their names are Mickey and Ruben. And those are the guys who actually led the project in the beginning. I was more like a game director, just making sure we didn't fuck up, basically. But of course, there's a lot of me in that game, but there's a lot of, my producer, Sylvia, in that game. And there's a lot of my lead designer, Mickey, in that game. I'm a lead programmer, Kim, in that game. Any game is kind of like a mix or cocktail of the influences of the people who created it. When we began with KILLSQUAD, we thought sci-fi for a very, very absurd reason, which is, okay, grand fantasy, as in Diablo or Wolfen or this kind of games, in our opinion, was super exploited already. So we couldn't actually be there because there were too many games there. Anything involving zombies and stuff like that, it's been done. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of zombies either. So we thought, okay, what's left? And we said, hey, sci-fi. There's Helldivers, which is a game we like. Actually, Helldivers was done at Sony while I was at Sony, so it's a game I knew well. And we said, hey, you know what? We could go, space, but more like bounty hunters in a kind of like a Dirty Dozen kind of way. And that is how the game was born. But again, it was kind of like a joint effort of a good number of people.
All right. I think to conclude, what are your hopes and fears for tomorrow, I guess, for the launch?
Okay. So, honestly, my main goal is that people say, you know what, I had a good time with your game. That's really all there is about it, At the end of the day, we live by our reputation, and our reputation is way more important to me than sales or anything like that. All I want is for people. Well, actually, I'm looking for two things for tomorrow. I'm looking for the existing community, the more than 110,000 people, to basically say, hey, Danny, thank you because you guys delivered on the promise. 2 years ago, you said you will not let us down, and you did. To me, that's super, super important. That's a value in our company, which is we don't let people down. And the second one to me is, again, reputation, for all the new players, like, hey, I spent this much money. And you know what? I had a good time. Of course, if that happens, the natural consequence of that is sales, which is great because at the end of the day, we do this, to pay the house, to take the kids to school and all that kind of stuff. But, in our brain, really, sales is not really something you look for. It's more a consequence of what you look for, which is satisfaction, satisfaction. Because if you get satisfaction, then the perception of Novorama as a company grows, and basically, maybe in a year, when we announce whatever the new game, whatever it's called, they're going to go and say, "Hey, those are the guys from KILLSQUAD. You know what? They did a good job there, so I'm going to get it again." Once you've had a company for 20 years, like we have, this is something I repeat a lot to my junior employees, which is, reputation is something that takes a lifetime to build, and it takes one morning to fuck up.
Yeah.
So be careful with that. So for us again, that's the reason why, by the way, we held back the launch until the reviews were really, really, really solid. Because for us, it's not so much about money; it's more about reputation, really. And of course, then money will flow, because that's usually what happens. It would be a surprise for me. Let's say, for example, that this weekend we get consistent, super, super high reviews. Usually, sales should follow. That's what usually happens. But again, we'll see. I mean, honestly, I'm very, very anxious for tomorrow. Think about this. This is new for me. I mean, it's the first time I've released a game on Steam. Honestly, I don't know what to expect. For example, the other day, someone was asking me, "How much do you think we will sell on the opening weekend?" And I was like, "You know what? I've never done this. We'll see. We could be here meeting you on Monday and say, you know what? We sold 100 copies." We could be here saying, "You know what? We sold 100,000 copies." We'll see what happens. We've put our best efforts into it, and we just hope people enjoy it. And that they have a lot of fun. By the way, during the weekend, there's going to be a lot of content coming up. Of course, there's this interview that I'm super happy to have given. There's streamers coming up. We have something going on with Vulcan, which is a streamer we really like.
Yeah.
We have something going on with Spanish streamers as well. So, of course, everybody who is into KILLSQUAD, just keep checking the Steam page and keep checking Discord, because we're going to be announcing like, "Hey, there's this stream coming up in 2 hours. There's this stream coming up." As things progress, you guys are going to be the first ones to get the insight from us of how everything is going. And of course, if you ask me about fears, of course, there's always that fear of some sort of bug or something like this. Shouldn't be, because the game has been stable for a long time. But, that's, of course, what you have always your fingers crossed that day. No bugs. Let's just have like a smooth launch and, be happy for all the weekend and have a beer together.
Yeah, I think you deserved it then as well. Any last words? Anything you want to still say to anyone?
Honestly, I mean, I'm always with me, it's kind of like funny, because in one side, I'm always super busy, so it's hard to get hold of me. But at the same time, I try to be very approachable. And, now that we have this opportunity to talk to you, and of course, I'm sure a lot of the KILLSQUAD community are going to be seeing this interview. All I wanted to say is, it's been really, really fun. It's been the experience for a lifetime for me. It's made me feel young in a way, like when I was starting in this industry to deliver this game. I hope you guys had fun with us as well. Of course, for every time we fucked up, which we did, we're sorry. I mean, it's human nature. It's impossible to always get it right. But I thought in the end, now that we're approaching kind of like the delivery of our story, I hope you all guys feel, hey, this was worth it. I mean, this experience of living with these developers for 2 years and seeing, their ups and downs, and this small thing called coronavirus that has changed the whole ecosystem. Think about this. This is my house. Back in the day, of course, we had an office and we had to basically run away and just go into confinement. So again, it's been a wild ride. It's been super fun for us. I hope it's been fun for you guys as well. And again, I cannot wait to show you what comes next in the KILLSQUAD adventure.
Yeah, great. I can't wait to see. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best tomorrow and in the weekend. I'll be watching some of the other content as well. I know Velkov pretty well, I would say, actually. So we've already been talking about this a little bit. And have fun. Thank you.
And again, I'm super thankful that you allowed us kind of like this window into, the world to explain ourselves and to basically. I mean, I think it's great when people see that game developers are basically just human people, people like you and, like everybody, and we have, of course, our mistakes and our, worries and our fears. Again, thank you so much. And, let's just go. I mean, tomorrow, actually today for you guys, I'm going to press a button and, this thing goes live and let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. All right. Thank you once again. And good luck tomorrow. We'll maybe talk later as well.
Of course we will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.